Hello everyone and welcome. Today is day number 2 for the VCT Game Changers APAC Series 2023. I'm Tashbani alongside Raf. We are your panel for today. Now, we've seen yesterday on day number 1 the teams to look out for and the teams who are trying to climb back to the top. Here on the substream today, we have two very bombastic matches, which is going to be Global Esports between Go Cyrene versus our second match of the day, which is going to be Orangutan versus, I believe it was going to be RRQ Kaguya. There we go. And I think that these are definitely the matches to see, because as you know from the first match of the day, it's the battle of who will be continuing their journey. And as for the second match, it's going to see who will be having a rough movement to the bottom side of the bracket, or will they continue on the top side of the upper brackets. So today, as we go into our first match, a GE versus Cyrene. Raf, do you want to recap what we saw yesterday?
Oh man, yesterday I feel like for both these teams that are competing for tournament life still, I feel like they really ran into an incredibly challenging roadblock, again, in the forms of our teams that are personally the favorites of a lot, and I feel like quite a few of us are going to agree with that. And for us to really inspect what's going to happen and how it went yesterday, we're going to be taking a peek into the brackets. And as Tosh asked me, GE versus SMG, like I said, a huge roadblock.
Yep.
And Sapphire too, very similar.
It's a really interesting situation when you look at GE, SMG. SMG, technically their core has been very similar compared to GE. GE, I would say a brand new announced team for GE Phoenix, and I think they're still trying to find their way around. We also managed to catch over here on the substream Orangutan versus Big Scythe, where it was going to be a 2-0. Orangutan showing us not only the Indian flavor of gaming, but also the Filipino flavors of Tondo gaming.
Oh man, you really have to bring up those very iconic knife kills, and
3.
Might I say that wow, 3 actually. I can't believe I lost count, Tosh. 1, 2, 3. Thank you for reminding me so much. But I feel like, as you mentioned, it has been a big stylistic clash all across the board when it came to basically all these teams trying to size up each other, and I feel like today is gonna be the same. In fact, I feel like this is gonna be a new beginning for our teams fighting for a lower bracket, despite the odds, or not the odds, the stakes being a lot higher, because against Sapphire and SMG, I feel like there's only very few teams that can really spread their wings.
Yeah, speaking of spread their wings, let's talk a little bit about the format that we are going to be seeing during this tournament. Now, it comes in 3 stages here, where we are on stage number 1, which is stage 1 open, where we have 3 opens, where 6 teams will qualify for elite, and these teams will compete in a series of group stages with double elimination rounds across 3 open tournaments, and they will be gaining points. The top 6 teams with the highest points will qualify for Asia Pacific elite stage and stand to win $10,000 at the end of the stage of the open tournaments. Now we're also going to go to stage number 2, which is the last chance qualifier, which is the final opportunity for teams who have not qualified for stage 3, and they'll be battling it out for the 2 final qualification slots, and they'll be going through group stages and a double elimination bracket to stand a chance to win $10,000 prize pool. And at the end, where we have the stage 3 elite, where the winner will be representing Asia Pacific, where the final 8 teams will compete to be crowned as champion in Asia Pacific and be invited to participate in the Global Game Changers tournament later in the year. Now, if you remember last year, the team that went over to Elite was X10 Sapphire. But let's talk a little bit about the prize pool here, where for stage 1 open 1, there's a $10,000 prize pool per tournament, for 6 teams to qualify for Elite. Now, we're starting off in March, for Open 1, Open 2 over in June, and Open 3 in July. And then we have Stage 2 LCQ with a $10,000 prize pool, where 2 teams will qualify for Elite. And finally, Stage 3, where Elite will have $35,000, 8 teams to qualify for Elite. Raf, what do you think of this format?
I think that is a huge chunk of change. It's almost the amount of money you can find lying on your couch. Tosh,
wow.
We all know that you're very up there. And what I think of this is that despite Open 1 being as, well, as we mentioned, open as it is, we did have 70 teams competing. If they didn't make it this time around, I am absolutely certain we are going to see familiar names when we move on to that LCQ. And of course, Elite, one of the best times of the year where we finally crown our representative for the global stage. So I'm very excited for everything that is to come.
Yeah, but for now, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, let's talk a bit about our first series, Global Esports versus Go Cyrene. And we are back here, the Valorant Game Changers APAC Series 2023. I'm Tash Bunny alongside Raf. We are your panelists for today. Now, as we are going into our first series for the day, let's do a little quick recap as we were interrupted just now. So yesterday we saw two teams playing, and it was Global Esports versus SMG, and the second one Orang Utan versus Big Scythe. And I think that Raf has a lot to say about these two teams.
You know, I'm glad that you put me in the hot seat here. Raph has a lot of thoughts on this, and some of them could be hot takes. But, you know, I feel like, as we mentioned yesterday, right, which was very similar to what I said earlier, is that the teams that we are going to be seeing today is finally going to have a chance to really throw the playbook out there and really play at maximum capacity, because SMG was just so utterly dominant yesterday. And pardon me, right, because that's exactly what we saw. Again, the round differential, the story that we got from the Swiss stage still continues on for them. Meanwhile, on Orangutan side, we thought they'd be a little shakier, but they found that stability that they've seemed to dug up from that 111 comeback. And ever since then, they've remained as resilient. And with that type of core and once again, the mentality that they've been bringing in, it's been super hard to stop them. As you mentioned, Tasha, it was very, very Tondo gaming. We had 3 knife kills in, a single map. And you can really tell that aside from being such ruthless competitors, they're still enjoying the game. And it's really important that it's still as enjoyable, even at the top level, like right now.
Yeah, I think like one thing that's been on my mind about this is mostly just because of the newer players and newer teams. While we do have teams that are, I would say, that have a little bit more familiar faces, like I would say Go Cyrene, they also have players that doesn't necessarily have that competitive experience just yet. But yet when we look at teams like say Big Scythe as well, it seemed like while they have played before, it was a little bit more shaky, and this is also because of the newer pickups at the same time. And I always tell a lot of people who are watching games, especially for Sunrise teams, Sunrise players, that it is really hard to put that expectation and pressure on these newer players and newer teams, because this competitive I would say experience does play a part in not only for the mental, but also in making sure you're able to adapt on the fly.
That is true. And once again, a lot of people don't realize that the differences between Radiant Q and just pro play is just so night and day. When you start competing, everybody, and I mean everybody, is going to be absolutely insane mechanically. And plus, they have that discipline ingrained in them. And if not the discipline, then just the inhuman ability to outright win duels. But I feel like we're going to be seeing those type of players very, very soon, Tosh.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to be able to see the rosters right now. So let's have a look at which team goes first. And this is going to be GE Phoenix. We saw them play yesterday. Rose, Hi-Fei, Kiri, Meow 16K, and Muffin Loop. And I think that when we saw the global esports announcement for them, I was absolutely stoked. They had one of the hottest players introductions, and they were actually mentioned as surgical precision, surgical skill, capable hands, and this is because the team has a lot of medical students in there, and this includes the coach Crave. Now, what do you think of their performance yesterday, Raf?
You know, you really had to squeeze that one in, huh? Like,
you're stats guy, you know, I gotta.
You had to. And yesterday, and I completely agree with you in that they do have a protocol that they love to follow, and they are very, very sharp on it. There were definitely glimpses of that and moments where that identity that they're trying to solidify on our stage right now it's there. It's just they have to find a way to allow it to flourish despite all the things ahead of them, because once again, SMG, they had such a solid game plan. Not saying G Phoenix didn't have to, but they have to find other ways to go around it when the system is being impeded by obviously the anti-strap, right?
Yes, I have to agree with you, because when you look at GE Phoenix yesterday, it felt like they were taking too much time to really figure out what exactly is going through SMG's mind. But enough for that, let's talk a little bit about our second team that will be competing in this first series, and that is gonna be Go Cyrene with Delbisky, Jai-Li, KDG, Miha, and Twirly. I would say that KDG, Miha, and Twirly has had competitive experience on the big stages, but what do you think of their performance? I think that both of us were not watching the mainstream here, but what do you know so far, Raf?
Well, Go Cyrene is one of those teams that is still developing a core and just a solid foundation to where they can naturally springboard from. And fundamentally speaking, just in this matchup alone, right, GE Phoenix versus Go Cyrene, I feel like in the form of Go Cyrene, they have the same base capacity of SMG to really run it down with a lot of firepower. As we mentioned, Twirly and KDG, they're immensely cracked and mechanically very inclined, right?
Don't forget about Miha as well.
Exactly. I was about to say that to, like, you know, Miha has become a little bit of a personal favorite for a lot of our players, and you know, we all enjoy that fragging Sova. It's both the support, and sometimes you gotta snap your fingers and say, fine, I'll do it myself, and that's exactly what Miha did. But as I mentioned, G do have an idea of what to do against this team, because despite having the same fundamental base of firepower, they still need to somewhat really practice that set play and that ability to mend that default.
Yep, speaking of set play, let's have a look at the set of maps that we'll be seeing in our first series of today. It's going to be Icebox, Fracture, and Haven. Now, if we look at the matches yesterday here, Go Cyrene has actually played Haven yesterday. So this is going to be somewhat of a very familiar situation, I believe. For Cyrene, however, they went 2-13 against Sapphire in that particular matchup. Now, if you look at Global Esports, though, they went Haven and Pearl, which is also a map that's playing. It was going to be 4-13. And I cannot really blame them because both these teams met with two very, very strong teams so very early.
So very early indeed. And with Icebox at the very forefront here, I'm actually excited to see if Twirly is going to bring out that Reyna. Again, I talked about it yesterday too. I would love to see a Reyna and a Chamber, and my wishes did come true. But with the overall arc of this map, Vito, when we talk about Icebox, it's one of those maps where you can employ looser calls because it's just the way the map is designed. And you can really freewheel it and basically play to the strengths of your individual players. But I cannot say the same thing about Fracture. Fracture is super set play heavy and is a lot, and I mean a lot of rotation on the defensive side. So if whoever picks the attacking side on Fracture can really leverage that and snowball, and you mentioned too, Fracture is one of the most overtimey maps, so possibly this is going to be where we see the stamina of these teams really be accentuated.
Yeah, I mean, we did see an overtime, wasn't it? Oh, sorry, that was another team, my bad. But when you think about Fracture, it's very, very pendulumy. It's very one extreme to the rest, and so the next is very, very, I would say, not only just overtimely, but also very snowbally. It's all about control. It's all about like having an area of control and taking and holding it. And once you don't have that area in your control, it's going to be a problem. And I think that in this situation, I think in most teams, they like to play aggressive on defense for Fracture itself. And I don't blame them because it does give you that momentum and those early picks. Now, moving into Haven as a decider, now that both the teams have played Haven yesterday, I think going into map 3 would sort of give, I would say that will be the most likely map where we start to see where the skills will really start to shine between the two teams, because both teams have played it yesterday. Both teams didn't do too well, and obviously both teams learned a lot from that map.
Absolutely, they have had to learn from that map. You know, it has to be an evolution point from them. And just another recurring theme is that potentially their ceilings were tested yesterday, and aside from that, their mentality to go up against teams like they did. So they're going to be rev amped today. They're going to be reinvigorated. So they're going to be supercharged going into the series. And I feel like with the way that you were approaching this map, Vito Tash, I feel like you're a firm believer that this is going to go for a full 3-game series.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be a full 3-game series, given the fact that I think that Go Cyrene as well as GE, they have a lot to prove after their performances yesterday, going up against very strong teams. And I think that was especially for GE, who is the only full Indian roster. I think there is a lot of pressure on their shoulders. There's the pressure of actually bearing the full Indian flag in their roster. At the same time, they want to prove that South Asia is the top of the ranks here. They want to prove that the Indian players are as good as the rest of the world. But for Go Cyrene, I think that for them, it's more of like trying to prove that, yes, we are a team that has just come back together. We were just put together and come in, and we want to come back this year as strong to show everyone that we can come back stronger despite the fact that we are separated from our former teammates.
And that's also a testament to how flexible and willing all of our players are to compete and to basically get that bread, right? And on the side of Global Esports Phoenix, it feels so good to prove everybody that, yes, this region is as dangerous as it has storied been. And it's been really incredible to see both the come-ups. But as we mentioned earlier, this is pretty much a reset point for both of them. And to see those improvements, even with just a day of difference, it's also, yet again, a proving point that these players are super willing. Their support staff is also great. But once again, the question is, how will they approach yesterday's loss? Will they build a foundation over it? Are they just going to go for those band-aid solutions, as you mentioned? So we'll probably just have to wait and see, right? But I feel like the number one thing here is, hey, they have to remember that this is loser's bracket. Either they really hinge off of that, or just at the very least not let it get the best of them.
Yeah, and as you mentioned before with your conversation with Reira Chu on the panel about this is being split number one, it's still very new for these teams. Some of them just formed. And I think that it will take some time for a lot of these teams to gel, find the right answer of playing in these tournaments. And on top of that, we mentioned before that competitive edge coming onto the big stage as someone very new can be very daunting. It's mentally taxing. There is this pressure to perform, and sometimes it causes you to overthink. You may not be playing the same way as you would be on scrims. Now, let's talk about flexibility. You talked about flexibility, and I feel like when you talk about flexibility, global esports has that the most. If you look at the team here, we had Meow K, Astra, and Raze. We have Muffin Loop playing Jet and then the KO. We have Kiri running Sova and Astra. So because of these players kind of swapping around, how do you think that impacts their performance in the team?
I feel like there's always this mentality switch when you go from a different role to something that could potentially be a different playstyle. For example, the duelist and initiator, right? One is the setup and one is the one that's benefiting from that. I feel like, yes, that is going to add a layer of versatility, but I feel like they should stick to one role just to have that consistency, especially when the stakes are this high. And really the margin for error is super, super thin already. And I'm glad that we have touched upon the intangibles of the game, because it doesn't matter if you're the most cracked player. It doesn't matter if you have the most divine game sense. When your judgment is clouded because of nerves and everything getting to you, some of those points become completely moot.
Yeah, and I think that one of the biggest things we've seen from both teams yesterday was just teamwork and communication. I think that both teams had that problem compared to Orangutan, compared to SMG, because when you see the post plans that happened, or even getting onto site, the crossfires were just not able to be matched by these two teams here. It felt like there was a disparity in terms of relaying that information. We talked about basketball yesterday, or just passing the ball rather, where one person tags a teammate and the other one swings out. We did not see this from both teams. I'm really hoping that today is the day that both teams will manage to really figure out, because as we talk about day number one is about that heat up day. I felt like for global esports, it felt like it took them a while to really figure out what SMG was about to do. Yes, they managed to chain 2 to 3 rounds in a row, but after that SMG managed to just take it back. And once they take it back, it's so hard to change against these the change in the pacing, the change in the playbooks, as well as the change in momentum and speed.
That is true. As we mentioned, that snowball too is so incredibly hard to stop that the only real way to go around it is to prevent it from happening. So this might require a little more activity from both of the sides here, and once again just layering upon layering those strategies together, because realistically when you get to the third layer, everything comes into play, and that's when the mental strain comes for the IGL. A lot of clarity too was a big point of question yesterday when, as we mentioned on the side of, I believe it was Orangutan too, losing sway, but they still managed to pull through it, this time on GE Phoenix and of course Go Cyrene. What direction do they really want to go to? Because honestly, sometimes that's where the hesitation as a team comes from. For example, you get the pick and then you guys have to basically go on a council. What do we do now? Do we force this tempo? Do we take a step back, wait for them to make an error? Do we run the time down? And all those questions just branch out into so many things. So sometimes it's really, really great to have that one person to say, hey, let's simplify the game. We'll just do this and we'll see how it goes from there, and we'll basically cross that bridge when we get there.
I mean, if you want to look about simplifying the game here, if you look at comps, I don't think it's anything too complicated. It's nothing really that is not really like what we expect to see from DRX, right? The jet wall, sorry, the Viper wall goes down, and suddenly the harbor wall goes up, the cascade. So I wouldn't say that this is something very, very complicated. But at the end of the day, you have to go back to the basics. It felt like in terms of aim jewels, they weren't really cutting it. The overheat does come through as well, and this is where you would really, really want to try and solidify the rounds. And you start thinking, what can I do more? And sometimes you don't really have to think about what can I do more. What can I do with my teammates is going to be the question here. But if you look at the two teams yesterday, I feel like Miha, a lot of eyes are going to be with her, because the way she plays Sova is what I would expect from Japeeps, from Orangutan. Very aggressive, plays in the front line with her teammates, and the multi-frag potential is really, really high. What do you think about that?
before I answer that question, I really like what you said. You know, it's not
Okay.
that what you can do more, it's what you can do right. You know, Tash, you're really sounding like a coach. I wonder if ever that's going to happen, right? But the fragging potential, of course, if we look at this from a macro standpoint, and this is applicable to all the teams, it's how really they're going to set up those spearheads of their team and how they're going to hinge around it, because we love to talk about the duelist. We love to talk about that initial fight and how everything just kind of dominoes from there. But we tend to forget that this is a five-out team. And of course, Tash, before we get to nitpick about this, we're going to be jumping right into the Agent Select.
I'm really excited about this because I want to see what kind of composition they're going to go. Now, if we saw during VCT lock-in, we saw that no duelist icebox from NRG. And I think Team
yeah.
Secret had something similar. Obviously, I don't think we're going to be seeing that here just yet. I think that's more of a high-level competitive play. But what's your opinion about that?
I think the reason why we had a lot of no duelist comps in that time frame was because, and I absolutely missed this meta, Chamber was just ridiculous.
It was.
Chamber was just absolutely crazy. Just do all and be the end all, right?
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, we are going to go back to the roots of Valorant and have a very balanced comp. We actually see stages on both sides, and I believe this is going to be an absolute
This is a very
mirror
standard
match.
comp. Yeah. This is
Yeah.
a very standard comp when you think about it. Sage is great for those, I would say, those post-plant situations. You want to protect your diffuser. It's also good to just buy some time if you're on defense, is number one. And number two, for attack, it just buy an area for you just to plant. Regardless, we are going to go into our first match. And for the first series of the day, guys, put a chat. Who are you going to be supporting? And I'm going to pass it off to you guys, BNB and Terror.
Thank you so much, Tash and Dayror, for doing the panel for us today. But without further ado, we are here to finally start off the day, our first series for today. Before anything else, Dayror and Black and Blue as your casters, and BNB. It looks like we're in the same room.
Well, I was almost surprised, to be honest there, Taylor, that the name underneath you right now didn't just say Raf Casts for a hair there. But yeah, it seems like we got the right coloring, and very much so, because we got a pretty similar, not just room, but a pretty similar team up on both ends. Very new. In Inception, you see this global esports squad, and also with Go Cyrene kind of being formulated in the past month or so.
Not only that, I actually had a quick talk with Turley a while ago, and I was wondering what is she looking forward to? Not only that, but a head-to-head going into this match, rather. And Turley actually answered and said, I actually want to go up against Muffin Loop, because we are also seeing Turley on the Jet, but right at this moment, at this point, it's currently a Killjoy. But anyway, without further ado, here is round number 1, the pistol round here, Black and Blue.
Yeah, you brought up that composition, and I'm curious that Go Cyrene don't actually go for the double controller that we saw earlier on. This contact is made here. Initially, in their earlier runs in the Swiss stages, they tried this very effective Harbor plus Viper comp, which I thought worked really well. So for them to have mirror match against Global here, I think is a very curious decision, Taylor.
Definitely true. But right now, they're trying for Go Cyrene to go inside onto the side. Jaylee not hitting the shots right now. Rose, though, trying to fight for her life as KDG shuts her down. Muffin Loop on towards Snowman will also be able to take on a kill here. A triple for her so far. And it's all up to Twirly, Go Cyrene's captain.
Well, one of the more experienced players on this team. We saw what she was able to do last time around with Bren, making it to the 4th place slot in the Elite stage at the end of the year. But now lots of pressure on her shoulders, and it's going to be a big task for her to pull this off. She has timing on this. She has the space. Not connect immediately on the Muffin as Muffin takes her down. Quick and clean, Global take the opening pistol.
Little bit of a mishap when it comes to the aim there, especially no movements at all coming in from the side of GES here. But anyway, this first round, or the pistol round, going towards GES is already a good sign and a good momentum start or boost towards this team. And like we were talking about earlier, Black and Blue, fairly new teams, both of them. And actually, Go Cyrene is quite aware of that. That's why they're very much excited about this matchup, because it seems to be more on to the 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what gives them an edge, right? Or at least potential to kind of equalize things up here. And go Cyrene. They're going for that B site, but Highface just way too ready for this. And this was a problem they did have during their pistol round. And I talked about, you know, that harbor, which I think would have been very helpful in that pistol. We saw because they placed this Viper wall preemptively on A, they didn't have anything for the execute on B. But now that they have the Viper here, it should work out a bit better, even though it is an eco.
Can work out better here with a heal coming in from Meow as well. At least this gives them a little bit more leverage, especially after that little damage coming in from Go Cyrene. But yet again, not much guns here to spray down around as Muffin Loop goes down in the hands of KDG. At least this gives a little bit or a glimmer of hope so far for Go Cyrene. But look at this, Black and Blue. They're actually rotating towards A site and no one is on there.
Yeah, and they do have the Viper wall there from Rose, so Global can put this up, maybe buy some time if they get the read onto this. They leave Twirly to still buy some space and some attention towards that B site. The plant should be able to go down without much of a hitch. It's a post-plant. Questions still remain of if they're going to be able to hold it as Rose finally gets Twirly down, being pesky.
Delbski just waiting patiently here, not knowing Meow is already onto screens as well. Not sure though if they're gonna be able to spot out each other, but this Recon is definitely gonna spot out Meow, giving out info. Delbski, clear shot, but unfortunately not hitting Meow to just spray her down. 2v2 situation so far, and this pistol round for Global Esports, to think about it, quite expensive. In the end, they still managed to take out the round away from Go Cyrene.
Yeah, not a bad eco by all means here, Taylor. They get the plant down, get a few kills, get some economy building their way, and now they're on pace to potentially come back on the rifles. But the operator for Muffin is a curious choice on round 3. It's a big investment, but Muffin is, I think, by far one of the most decorated players here as well on this GE squad. She was part of that Asteria roster, VLT, with Meow, and we've definitely seen the benefits of having those caliber players during the Swiss stage and the open stage. And Global, they really like to play off of her aggression, so curious buy, but it's a big investment.
Definitely a big investment here. Let's see if they can actually get value out of it as well. And we all know, especially when it comes to the retake, kind of loses value here, especially if you have to take onto the side. But Meow yet again onto this Sova Recon, trying to go around it. But Go Cyrene already onto the side here, setting up for the post plant even, and Delbski just planting the spike onto F.
They get the plant down, have every advantage available to them here on the GOC side. Cyrene, you can see they're anticipating potentially that swing from the rafters, but I don't think it's going to come. Not anytime soon. The operator, as you said, Taylor, going to be difficult to retake with in this situation.
Still, there's a wall leaning towards that info play right now, but Muffin Loop yet again with a shot here onto the operator. The value we finally find here. It's still a 2v3 though, and one by one Go Cyrene is trying to pin down the enemies here. Global Esports, as of the moment, only left with one, and Meow still fighting for her life. No more time to defuse the spike, but maybe a time to pick up that operator that they truly want to have on their team, since that was such a big investment here. But Go Cyrene taking in one round, a good take onto the side, the least I could say.
Yeah, I mean, fortunate enough that it was a big gamble, but a risk they were willing to run, knowing that Muffin would have blades coming into this round anyways. So all is not lost just yet. Some damage done with it. As you said, the value there could have been nullified, but at least they were able to find a kill off of it at the very least. Still, Go Cyrene, now they know that possibility isn't going to be available anymore here in round 4 for Global, as they won't have the economy to support it anyways. So they can re-hit this A site, wall placed down and committed already by both sides here towards A.
The problem that currently Go Cyrene is having right now is that whenever they set up sites like this, sometimes they actually don't use up the utility, or rather don't use up the info. But right now, Jaylee capitalizing on that positioning right now. Verticality on towards the players of Go Cyrene. Muffin Lou fighting for her life yet again. Blades out for her. Not hitting anyone, or not really killing anyone right now. 4v4, and now with a Viper Spit being popped, this gives time and space for Go Cyrene to actually plant a spike and prepare that post plant.
Yeah, they planned for that default. Muffin's found herself a rifle retrieved now off that opening kill a while ago from the trade. They have the Viper's pitch, are really secure in this post plant, but the flank, that's going to be big. You can see Miha coming in on time. They're ready for this, though. You can see them marking it, but Miha finds a double from the mid. They didn't check the screens, and now it's a 4v2.
Oh no. Unfortunate enough for Global Esports here. Hyphae, though, was able to take one down despite KDG being low yet again, despite all the sprays onto the sides trying to puncture, especially this Viper's Pit to make or create space for that retake. Seems to be not happening at all currently, as this spike will just detonate in just the future. And so far, Go Cyrene, the takes that we're looking at on site, seems to be more comfortable compared to the last game that we just saw them with.
Here.
And that comfortability is something that, you know, Go Cyrene can continue to utilize moving forward. Have yet to lose a single map during the Swiss stage here in Icebox, although they've only played 2, so not a big sample size by any means. Yet still, they're going with a different composition now. The last time we saw them, we saw the Reyna come on in and out, and before that, we saw that Harbor plus Viper, which I still think would be the best option here, especially such a difficult opponent like Global.
Kaylee already getting the verticality that every Jet wants and needs, and managed to pull off a kill on towards Hyphae, removing that anchor onto the side, especially that Killjoy with the traps. Everything is cleared out for now. GES, they're trying to figure out a way and getting info yet again because they gave up so much control on towards Go Cyrene here, Black and Blue.
Yeah, well, they have a good pincer potentially on a twirly. You can see the flank coming in from Meow. This should be the kill. No, she flicked behind her. The 180, a double for her. Doesn't get away with it unscathed. But Rose, the damage has been done before she got the trade. It's all on Akiri, who can't really do much. Gets a kill, but literally down to a single point of health.
1 HP, probably a dream, but for this moment, it is much better for her to save, as GE doesn't have any, or when it comes to the economy, it's a little bit broken right now for the rest of the team. Not really into that point where everyone can actually buy for themselves no matter or which way they like. But again, a round for Go Cyrene here. Still very much a close fight, and especially knowing that this is Icebox as well onto the attack. We are expecting a little bit more than usual. And this time around, Black and Blue, utility-wise, so far for Go Cyrene, yeah, pretty have some good utilities to take on sites.
Yeah, for that initiate, as you talked about, they have the Hunter's Fury, potentially to use a lockdown for the initiate, and then the Hunter's Fury for the post-plant hold of the denial of the defuse. But the operator coming out from Muffin Loop once more. Let's see if she can bake this wide open. GE, we've seen some opportunities here given to them. It's about capitalizing on those opportunities like that as they find Jayla. That's the exact type of start they finally need to get back in this game.
Exactly the start that they're looking for right now. And I like the decision here right now for Go Cyrene. Really, play for picks despite one being out. They still have utilities here, and for the side of GE, rather, I like the positioning that they have. Despite that, they have to move away from that lockdown, give a little bit of a space. No, nothing really of an aggression towards Go Cyrene, even or despite having that lockdown out of the way.
Well, one gets detained. Luckily for Global, Go Cyrene did go on the execute right there. Well, they had the man disadvantage, but the rotation here towards B site. The big thing is that neither side really has placed down their wall just yet. And that's going to be important here moving forward, as they can still explode onto this B side for the plant. Gaining that orb pulls the rotation, pulls the defense a bit more towards B as they're looking to re-hit A. But the operator here from Muffin Loop is looking to stop that once again.
You will not kill my allies.
They go for the rest as well. That's going to be Jaylee up and alive yet again. That swing, very risky, just to put onto that alarm bot onto the side. Delbsky now planning the spike, preparing for the post plan right now. It's gonna be Go Cyrene. Like you said a while ago, they haven't used up the Hunter's Fury yet here. Still have utilities for that post plant. They even have KDG for a lineup. They just really have to be careful about the flank. And so far, Global Esports here not really looking like they want to flank anyway.
Yeah, they have that Viper's Pit. They can flush it out, though, with the Hunter's Fury. KDG gets the spam on a Rose, and that just immediately drops the ultimate. Meow on the trade, but damage being done, time being burnt. Hunter's Fury to deny the defuse, and there's just so much going on here. Too much for Global to deal with. Haifei all alone, and she's taken down as GOC smartly played their A site once again.
I feel like that little delay coming in from the lockdown as well. They used it to fake out, basically. They go on to rotations after rotations and then try to get a punish or try to get a kill. They had the rest anyway, and that was definitely worth it for the side of Go Cyrene here, having that manpower advantage. Not only that, I would say, Black and Blue, but for global esports, especially, you know that you have a Viper and the back lines and even a Sova, you have to expect there are going to be lineups, not just them pushing in onto the site, especially on that kind of post-plant positions. And they had to put pressure, but unfortunately not enough pressure to actually take or retake the site completely.
Knowing that, GOC, they saw Global play this exact composition throughout the Swiss stage, and then Go Cyrene, they pick it anyways to mirror match up against them. There has to be something they saw potentially to be able to outplay here. GE, it seems to be the case. We saw during that round that, they're one orb away from that res. So what do? They rotate towards B, which not only gets them the orb control on B long to allow that res to even be possible on the Jaylee, but it also pulls a defense, and that allowed the space for the rest of GOC waiting here, of Go Cyrene waiting towards that A site to make that entry on the GE's A site, and just gave them so much more to work with. And Go Cyrene are so prepared for multiple situations so far.
And not only that, that allowed Go Cyrene to have that uncertainty, or rather, towards Global Esports, that uncertainty on which take they are really going for. But for this, Go Cyrene, this time around, despite Global Esports tagging on to A, it's not going to be A site at all. B is free to take for the rest of the team of Go Cyrene here, preparing for that post-plant position. They have to be really careful as Muffin Lou is just waiting on that, or with that operator, or rather not an operator, but a marshal instead. Thought it was an operator, dude.
Okay, the skin is very confusing, but Mia has no qualms about this. He's just tapping away like this is aim lab or something.
One enemy remaining.
finally gets a kill, but they know where she is. This is going to be a quick round, I think, for GOC. Maybe she can retrieve the rifle a bit too far out of reach. And for at least use the opposing kill play. 5-2. That's a 5-round run here for Go Cyrene. G, call a timeout. How do they utilize this round now coming in at round 8?
Oh, well, there you go. An operator goes out again in the pockets of Global Esports here. They really want to gauge on that operator play, knowing with how Go Cyrene played the other day, or yesterday to be specific as well. Once an operator is out, it's a little bit more difficult, especially here in Icebox, where you have to go for that long-range duels as well, or long-range engagements. And without flashes coming in from the team, it's a little too difficult, I would say.
Yeah, they don't have that initiate. Maybe to help the operator out here in the defense. We saw it get an early pick a while ago. It's not being given away now. We're not certain that Go Cyrene are aware of this operator coming on in. They're going for this B side hit. They don't have a wall this time. Luckily, though, they've done enough to pull that defense towards the A side to get the free plant here, and they have a very early plant with a lot of post-plant utilities still up.
Not really much noise going on B while they're planting. They want to take up the space, not give info, but now Twirly onto Kitchen here, onto the second kill. Going for the third, not enough. Kiri, though, to shut her down. Again, with a lockdown, but this time coming in from Global Esports. Now Muffin Loop with an operator shot hitting towards Miha as well, as Haifei shuts her down. 3v2 situation, smoke coming out, and the spike diffuser being killed here. It's all up to JD to try and hold this post-land position, and now the pressure that we're looking for, finally Black and Blue, shows up in the hands of Global Esports.
Yeah, the pressure that Global are able to apply in that post-plant really is enabled by the fact that they didn't have a wall towards B. And this is why I was talking about that Harbor plus Viper pick that we saw during the Swiss stage coming from Go Cyrene, I thought would be the best option, knowing especially that Global, especially when you have a player here like Muffin who likes to apply that operator always, it would have been a very beneficial thing for them to have in the first place. And so this is what we were talking about, you know, kind of studying up for this series, or for this game, for this team rather. Go Cyrene, they have the good parts to be a team, but do they have the proper tools rather, or do they really utilize those tools properly to act as a team?
I totally agree with you. Not only that, it also really is the dream of operator players, you know, no flashes at all. But anyway, as GOC goes in onto the side here, they get the first pick on towards Hi-Fei. Again, removing those traps that a Killjoy might present to the side. But Kiri with just the Blind Hunter's Fury, hitting Delvinsky actually, but not enough to get the kill though. As Muffin Loop still holds on to that operator. It's still gonna be GES getting more than enough pressure, and they have to make a retake happen.
There's that. Kiri just ends the Hunter's Fury early. Potentially was expecting a push to come on in. Off angle here by Jalen. It's going to be difficult to dismantle. The operator, though, shut down immediately. Thought she would have been able to get a kill there, but Kiri's quick for the trade. Still 4v2. Almost out of the question. Maybe they can save the op, but it's all down to Meow, the former teammate here from that BLT squad as well of Muffin. She's going to try and keep it in her hands because that is a big investment that they've been trying to utilize every single time they can.
They know it's an op and they're following all throughout. They want to kill, or they want to get a kill onto Meow. But it seems like I'm just scared that this is just going to go the other way.
What?
And again, just like that, 2 pick ops towards Go Cyrene because they want to keep on following the track onto an operator. And not only that, Black and Blue, even if they followed through and even if they didn't get a kill, they have more than enough money to buy. What I want to ask you, is this the correct option though? They're going for that operator play as well.
I mean, I don't know. On the attacking side, they know
I mean,
the
there's no
opposite.
flash, right?
Yeah, they don't have a flash. They don't have maybe much initiating utility like a Harbor would give you in this case. And so they just, I guess, want to try and maybe win an aim duel here against that operator. Is there one way to shut it down? Assumingly so. And look at that, Muffin making full use of the space given and the angle.
You will not kill my
Still have
ally.
to move out alongside this ult coming in from the Killjoy and Jaylee. Just the perfect time to actually see Muffin Loop hiding or just around the corner. Already setting up for that post plant yet again. A 2F plant is what we're looking at right here. And for Global Esports, a retake bound to happen yet again. Multiple times they're having a hard and difficult time. But once they put pressure or enough pressure, it can or it is doable. But right now, as Hi-Fei swings out, sees Jaylee already. And I like the discipline that the team is showing here for Go Cyrene right now.
Oh, Jaylee punished on the dash out. Still 3v3. Operator going to be difficult to dismantle this post plant hold on the second floor as well. See the lineups ready here by Rose. There's no time remaining. That should be the round as long as they get the kill, and that they do. This is it. Whirly and KDG close up house. And GOC once more with a pretty successful attacking side. It's great recognition there by Jaylee on this opening trade kill on the Muffin to recognize that that was the only place that she could have been playing in there, Muffin. And she heard Jaylee. She heard that updraft happen in the first place, so she knew to spam that one corner where she would be.
Like that sensitivity towards the players on really like trying to clear out the site and really going for those blind spots, especially the one not included onto the lockdown. Good execution yet again from Go Cyrene, and it seems like for Global Esports, whenever it's an A take, they're really having a tough time, really puncturing onto the pressure points here of Go Cyrene. Especially those double lineups that they can provide with the Sova having or being there as well. But in any case, it's gonna be the same scenario once we swap sides later on. Twirly with a shot yet again onto a head, but Meow to take on the trade here. Mika trying to also get a kill here, but would rather go back as soon, or rather, as long as they have the post plant going on.
Poison's gone.
Good angle here to win the fight. That she does. Equalizes back up off the res. Muffin quick on the trade. She's so deadly. Certainly one of the stars here, especially coming from that region. There's a lot for them to deal with, but even more to uphold against. GOC, Miha goes down. Delbski quick on the trade. 3v2. The Viper Spit is still up online. They have a wall to try and, kind of isolate the fight here. But the swing from Delbski and from KDG is just too much to deal with. Round should be done, and that it is. Good attempt here by Global, but GOC still way more firepower than they had.
Especially with the Viper Spit set onto site, and as soon as you come in and dive in onto the site here, you're just gonna have a very, very difficult time. But Global Esports, they tried to make it work, especially with Muffin Loop having the Blade Storm as well. But unfortunately enough, they didn't get to check all the corners here. Like I said, especially having that Viper Spit, you have to be wary of all angles from inside up to the outside or outskirts of that Viper Spit. Yet again, a brand new round. One round more to end the first half that we have right here. Muffin Loop, same positioning as she has, but seems like Go Cyrene learned from their mistakes.
Nobody really giving that peak just yet. The angle or the fight that Muffin Loop is looking for. Thrown on out, this catches the operator and gets a kill off of it as well. Great timing here. Meow on that trade. Not going to be any time for that res, but she can still delay here. Slow orbs up, same with the barrier. And that sends GOC rotating towards a B site because KDG has already secured control of B for the plant.
A hit and run is what Go Cyrene is doing right now. They have control over Kitchen already. They know this. That's why they're rotating. KDG, good control onto B site, getting even. One kill out of the way. And now ready for that post-plant take. They go in deep as well. They have so much control over this post-plant and onto B site.
Yeah, so really smart here by GOC to place that wall, especially by KDG, to place that wall to cut off those orange angles. It's going to be difficult for the retaker of GE. They can go through Kitchen because that is the lane being given up here on the post by Go Cyrene. But as I said, difficult. Operator out on Twirly still. They're going to have to find a way to dismantle that peak, but she's just way too ready and way too accurate to not hit those shots. Now on the swing, but nothing can be done. Hunter's Fury's too much pressure. And GOC, Go Cyrene, come out with a 9-3 half.
They go rotate out and really try to punish or go on to mid, but it really is not enough. Anyway, with this round, we are ending in onto an 8-4. And with the Hunter's Fury even, just too much pressure here for GES. This point right now, let's head into the panel to actually break down what happened on the first half.
Very strong showing for the first half of our match here between Global Esports as well as Go Cyrene. Now, let's break it down for you guys just for a little while here. Raf, what were you thinking?
What was I thinking indeed, Tosh? And I'm glad you asked me as I have my notes open. So what I feel like has been the most pivotal thing for Go Cyrene is that they've done such a fantastic job of shuffling their hand on attack, staggering the pressure as well as they have, knowing that GE is so hyper-focused on having an operator. And knowing that they have an operator, they make those retakes so difficult because we know that if the operator cannot find value in the first 30 seconds of the round, then it does become somewhat of a liability. At the same time, on the side of Global Esports Phoenix, when they did find that value early, they would then become incredibly voracious with that map control when they can identify the exit and the rotation out. So they do have a few rounds to really recuperate, but I feel like this is still a fairly close match.
Personally, you were talking about taking up space. I feel like GOC has been very, very proactive in doing that. We saw how they were able to do that in round number 9, where how they planted was very interesting in my opinion. They managed to wall off the area of that was toward middle, and they took full control of Snowman, leaving Miha all the way at B long, which means that Miha, they understand that Miha was able to get those multi-flags all alone. Now, in that situation, do you think that's a very wise thing to do?
Absolutely. When you can isolate the firepower on the side of Go Cyrene, you are going to have such a great time of going for that retake on the side of Global Esports. Once again, the biggest thing is to find strong position on that operator. Therefore, making absolutely more proactive calls on rotating. When they can't find that value in the first 5 seconds, that's maybe when they start thinking of where they can shift their attention to.
Okay, so on top of that, let's talk about GOC's post-plant. You notice that Twirly's nades plus KDG's lineups on Viper have been super phenomenal. Do you think that if they keep this up, they'll be able to keep the momentum?
Absolutely, and we are probably going to be seeing more of that in the second half. Once again, the mastery of Go Cyrene has been absolutely beautiful.
Yep, for now, let's have a look at our second half of the match. Take it away, Tay and...
What are you talking about?
What's
I thought
up?
that was Raph with me.
I'm Raph. Let's get back to the game, BNB.
Oh, yep. Rightfully so. Global are struggling here, Taylor, to say the very least. They're on the attacking side, the favorite side now, but I think it's still difficult for them to come back. But when they start off with a round pick like that, Muffin, that will give them
They
momentum.
heard you, dude. It's like, what are you talking about? Having a hard time.
My
Again, deadly opening shots coming in here from Global Esports. If it continues, might be a problem for Go Cyrene Jaylee to go down here. 4v2 situation right now. Delvisky trying to hold and anchor in onto the site while waiting for the rotations of Mia.
Well, 3v2, and finally, a potentially decisive looking round for Global if they can keep their man count alive. Still no problem though. Muffin and Meow are low, but it doesn't matter when Rose can hit a headshot like that. She's the only high HP player remaining on this side, and Meow, quick right click and quick opening round. Finally, Global get a round that looks really convincing.
And they actually really need this as well. They have to set foot on that momentum, especially if they want to make a comeback happen here on Icebox. But like we were mentioning a while ago, and I feel like it's gonna happen with Global Esports as well. They're really gonna gauge up on the utility play that they can do, especially on the shock darts and especially on the lineups for that post-plant positionings. And if Go Cyrene can put pressure into making those retakes happen from back up to the front ends, might be a good sign for them. For Global Esports though, they really have to make everything work out, especially on the take on the sides. They already have a smoke on to B. This gives a brief idea towards Go Cyrene that they might take B site rather.
Yeah, good read here from Global. Let's go Cyrene. Thought they could stack up the A side, but the B side that Global have interest in this case. Danger being taken away, and Danger proposed. She has to back out here, Muffin. No, she's taking damage, but the Vandal just way too much to deal with at that range. She can take these fights for free. Has a tailwind to still take another one and back out if it ever does come to it.
One enemy remaining.
Yep.
Meow. Another shot.
charges.
Another one bites the dust.
Yeah.
Miha, the only person alive right now, fighting for her life. 45 HP remaining on just the Sheriff. It's not gonna happen at all. Global Esports, clean cut round, a flawless one even.
If you look at their HP, it's almost quite literally flawless. Only Muffin took damage there, but she was held up. Every single player did not even take a single tick of damage in that round, so which means not only is HP, but more importantly, armor still up and online without any reinvestment here from Global. And that is the type of start you want in the half. They've been pretty successful in winning the opening 2 rounds of a half, but it's the mid-half that has been questionable, as we saw from the defensive side. Let's see how they play their bonus, and I like that they go for mid here on their bonus take.
Really going for those verticality shots and Muffin loop yet again. A very punishing headshot towards Miha. Too early to go down as well. No more traps to actually locate the enemies here. Not only that, for Go Cyrene, so much control going in towards Global Esports, but they were able to clear out Kitchen here. Not yet, though, as Muffin loop is already under tube, and KDG to go down in the hands of Kiri as well.
Oh, difficult spot put in here. Go Cyrene squad R. Ozdelsky gets a catch off on Akiri, who just seemingly was unaware of the lurk. Still
She was
found
hurt.
the timing. Yeah. Now they have a plan, and this should be safe. No players within any sort of capacity to deny this. The retake is going to have to come in from GOC. Still a winnable round for them. You see Meow on that Stinger. And with them playing all the way towards A main, it's going to be a bit more difficult to win out the fight at that range with the Stinger.
They still have a wall to work around here as well. And like you said, they only have a Stinger here. So heavy on to that gun advantage was really going to be Muffin Loop. But easy execution on that retake. They know where to go. They know what to pressure, and they know players from Global Esports. As soon as they were able to clear out the site, it's just gonna be a main Black and Blue.
Well, quick retaliation here, Taylor, from that round. Well, it was looking pretty well early on. We saw that mid take. We saw Muffin hit the opening shot and then the second follow-up. 5v3. Should have been theirs for the take. Kiri gets those kills, but then it just breaks down as they kind of scamper and scatter around, allowing these fights, especially by Delpsky, to win those out in the end. But still, it was their bonus. Good damage done. Good economy built up. They all have full armor off of the plant. And this still isn't out of the question for Global to come back into. But they have to start winning rounds like this. Otherwise, their economy is going to suffer.
Missing shots coming in from Muffin right now. But yet again, it's just warning shots, as they call it. Black and Blue. Just a warning shot to keep them off and get them scared to go around onto the side. Still, like you said, that was their bonus a while ago, and this time around they still have money to buy off. And Hyphae, again, this is a maintaining problem, or rather an occurring problem for Global Esports. The flanks here, especially even on the defense and the attack right now, with the Hyphae really going down immediately or getting picked off immediately, it just gives so much control over Go Cyrene.
It's a recurring trend, as you mentioned here, Taylor, and if that continues, Go Cyrene have really shown prowess in making sure to capitalize off of those windows like this. But Muffin's so good. She's just so aware. I think by far the most hot-handed player we have in the server right now. But Global just haven't been able to capitalize off of it. It's still down. They get the plant off here after the equalized kill count. 4v4. Miha with a mere sheriff. And they still have that mid presence, so when the retake comes on in, you're going to expect Muffin to go in big. She's making her way up the kitchen, and she can certainly start to cook.
And she is right now. And this is a big flank coming in from her, honestly. Miha again with a mere sheriff making the shot happen. And even a trade-off from KDG. It's still a 3v3 right now. As Kiri spots one. Another bites the dust. And Delvitsky is the only player remaining. Kiri with a triple kill. Ending this round 6-10. Global Esports paving their way for a comeback here, Black and Blue. And they're slowly doing it right now.
Very nicely done there. Coming in from Kiri to get those 3 kills, because otherwise it could have been a round taken away here by Go Cyrene. We talked about Muffin, right, coming up through that tube into the kitchen, but then somehow Miha just gets a kill as she checks that angle and stops that flank from coming. Once more, the ever-reliable Kiri keeping them in check. Look at this B-push here. So much contact being made. Twirly finds the one. Here's a push off of the flank. Twirly gets a second. And now Global once again down to the man count, even though this is an eco for GOC.
They were able to burn up even the Hunter's Fury just to make and create that space. Now Twirly, little bit of an overextension here on B main. It's 2 players from GES right now. Maybe she can play around it though. She has a Vandal here to fight off. She managed to pull it off. Another kill for her. Maybe even a 4th if ever. Meow trying to peek. Again, they have a rest here to play around. But I don't think right now pressuring Twirly and really pushing her to her limits is the best option.
There you go. The ace of spades here for Twirly keeps him on the loop. And as he talked about, she was kind of overextending for a bit, but then it doesn't matter. She hits the shot anyways, luckily able to back out off of that long. The rest of the team just did not rotate in time, but still didn't matter at all. Small bit of help there at the end from the scan of once again coming in from Miha, doing huge wonders here. As we talked about, one of the more decorated players and experienced players here on the Go Cyrene side, and Twirly from that old Brent group, she's really performing here today.
She really is though. And like I said or mentioned before we started the series, she was really wanting that head-to-head against Muffin Loop. Despite having different agents, we can definitely see that head-to-head when it comes to the KDA. And again, the captain of the team, Twirly here, trying to make some wonders, especially after that ace. GE going for that timeout, a much-needed timeout, I would say, for the rest of the team to actually have that base of a plan on how to take on to the side. Especially, they have a Hunter's Fury now, and they were able to also burn out the Hunter's Fury of Go Cyrene a while ago. This gives them a little bit more opportunity and less pressure to make a play happen and make a comeback happen.
Well, that pressure is certainly on the shoulders of Global to come back into this. And now that they are on the attacking side, we know that Operator that they love to pull out here on Muffin isn't going to be as viable of a choice this time around, especially with the smaller economy they've got. It's Jayla who gets to pull that on out. Information gathered here. And as they see the run rotation towards B, this now allows the defense of GOC to anticipate this push. And so you see the top floor being played here now by KDG. Expecting that to come. It is blocked off by the Viper's Toxic Wall, though, here off of GE. And that gives them a bit more of a leeway to work with.
There's this smoke also holding off the players of Global Esports. But right now, they're really trying to see if anyone goes out or even wide swings to manage or get a kill or a pick off. But so far, again, showing a really great execution right now for Go Cyrene, really holding down the fort and just really waiting for those rotations as Global Esports is planning the spike yet again. They have a lockdown here. Hunter's Fury being pulled out again. Coming in this time around from Kiri. No one to get though, no one to gather. And now Go Cyrene, ready for that retake to happen. They have to clear out yellow here first, but one thing to clear out is gonna be Kitchen as Ife does that. And Rose gets a kill. This gives more space towards Global Esports to make a play happen. KDG though still fighting for that chance for a retake. She goes down in the hands of Meow 16. Still a 4v2. Black and blue make it a 3v2.
Difficult situation here off of the post-plant retake. This almost certainly should be Global's round, and that it is. 7-11 conveniently here for the GE side as they keep the ball spinning for the meantime and don't give up match point. Nicely done off of that post-plant. You see them wait patiently for the utility to be dropped. They're fortunate too. Jyla doesn't connect that shot because it would have been devastating to lose that lurk presence and then have the op as well to help them on the retake, but they keep things alive just where they need to.
Looking forward, and so far for Global Esports right now, seems to be they're doing much better job here on the attack. And especially Muffin Loop also was able to get some pickoffs here and there, and really like big pickoffs as well, you know? And this creates just a bigger map for Global Esports to take on to the site. But yet again, another round here, like you said, 7-11. Conveniently play scored right now. And it seems like a 4-man stack onto A as well.
The angle here by Twirly. I don't think they expect this. Jyla gets a big kill here in the Muffin, and to lose one of the biggest players here on the Global side is going to be a big hit to their momentum and their re-hit. They have the res to get them back up to speed. Lockdown should be able to detain one, and that it does. The plant will go down here without much of a hitch. But Twirly still wins that fight against Muffin!
I was gonna say she didn't have any trades, but she was able to pull it off yet again. Twirly for the second here, but apparently it's gonna be Meow shutting her down with the rest coming up.
Whoa!
It's not gonna be enough. It's Meow 16 again with a triple already. 3v2 situation. They want to try to defuse the spike, but so far, this is the Great Wall of Meow as she was shut down by that judge.
Swarm grenade out.
You have time. You can still go for this. The wall. They can raise up this to try and block it. They have to tap the spike very soon, though, to try and force out a reaction here from the GE side. There goes the snake bites. None of them connect. They're not hitting. Hyphen connects the shot, though, but there's no time for this. And GOC still cannot win in the retake. It was a good attempt earlier on, but the player like Meow, just so important to this roster. She knows and how to pick up the slack when, you know, a player like their entry, like Muffin, goes down. She's there, ready to catch that pace.
The spark of hope, especially when the lineup doesn't. But in the end, there's still 2 players remaining for Global Esports here. Really able to help out each other, bait and switch, and really just play out the time that we have, especially on that spike. Now goes Cyrene on a timeout here. And as our rounds go forward, and as rounds that we are looking at here, black and blue go and almost towards the ending, we can see that Go Cyrene is definitely having a hard time here on the defense like Global Esports did.
Well, certainly so. I mean, it is an attacker-sided favored map anyways, but I really do think that when you have a player like Meow and like Muffin, who we've seen just destroy throughout that Swiss stage and throughout their older, their previous teams on BLTS area, you have to be wary about trying to play a mirror match against them, especially if it's not your favored pick anyways, or it's not the composition you always run. We saw the Reyna come out from GOC last time, but once more, I really think the way that they played that Viper Harbor of theirs to win 13-4 in the Swiss stage, I think that's what they should have brought out here. They need that extra utility on the defensive side, especially to try and equalize the odds, especially when you got a player like Muffin and Meow on the other side.
Completely agree with you. Again, it's really open picks that is happening left and right now. They have that sustain heal coming in from Delbisky, probably towards Miha. And the least that they could be thankful for Go Cyrene right now is Miha still alive and kicking as of the moment. That man disadvantage isn't there yet, but Muffin Loop ready to take on to the side again.
Oh, twirly on these dips. She finally does get punished for it, but still gets out with a kill. She has impeccable timing. But you lose your Sentinel in that case, and that just makes the hold and the anchor so much more difficult to win out now.
The two Sentinels even. Muffin Loop just goes out for the swing and gets a kill onto KDG. Another controller out of the equation here. And dwindling down to just the remaining two players here of Go Cyrene. Again, this was a broken bye for the rest of the team, but
left.
I actually like these rotations coming in from Global Esports. They really want to take cover and go all together to B and leave one out, and that's going to be Hi-Fei holding mid.
Ball goes up. Timing gonna work out for Miha. Darling and Espanol, and Jayla finds that kill. 1v2. Has an angle to work with. But ultimately enough, Muffin Loop is at the ready, is prepared to strike, and that she does. 9-11. And Global Esports, they started with a first step, but they're continuing that march to tie up the game.
Despite holding mid control here, again, Hi-Fei, it is a little obvious that she's been having a rough time trying to get those kills in. But what's important right now for Global Esports is for the rest of the team to create that space and to create that momentum for them to really make a comeback happen here, especially in map number 1. Again, attacker-sided map. And at this point, at this moment, Rose has an ult as well. They can play around that Viper's Pit when it comes to the post plant. Not only that, they even have a res here to play around with.
Yeah, so they can go a bit more aggressive knowing they have that fallback. And Muffin shuts down Twirly, the hottest player here in terms of performance today from that GOC side. Quick trade on the KDG to keep them alive. They retain B-Long control, but not for long. Kiri gets that trade in return. And now a 4v3. The Viper's Pit coming in big here. Jayla checks the angle, drops Rose, picks up the other Phantom, doesn't win the swing against Hi-Fei. 3v2. It's all remaining on the Miha, and they should be aware that this could be coming on the possibility. Oh, information given away. She knows one's yellow, but they're ready for this swing. And Global Esports still do not falter. They continue their streak.
Mia wanting it to play one by one and try to get a contact play here, but it's not gonna happen any longer. When it comes to Global Esports, here on the attack so far, especially Muffin Loop really gaining that confidence to go around the entirety and use the versatility of a Jet, has been phenomenal, especially here on this map. I just want to see more of a trade coming in from Global Esports, especially when Muffin Loop gets tagged out.
Well,
I guess she's
player
fast,
here like
huh?
Muffin Loop. Yep, just incredible stuff. They're able to go for it. They just completely deny immediately control here. In GOC, they do not want to be bum rushed. They do not want to be bulldozed by a player like Muffin. So they can commit lots of utility early to stop that, but now they don't have much holding power. Hi-Fei gets a kill here in the KDG.
Whoa.
Information given and taken here by Hi-Fei as Jayla is shut down and could potentially find another. She's aware of the presence of a second, or rather a third player just Doesn't know where Miha really is.
There you go. At
Oh.
least now she knows where Miha is. But now it's down to a 3v2 situation though, Black and Blue. So many people, so many players from Go Cyrene was tugged out just by Hi-Fei here. Slowly but surely, Delbski walking towards the side, picks up a Vandal. This can be scary.
enemy
Right now,
remaining.
Go Cyrene is making this retake happen. It's all up to Meow16 to
player
hold
standing.
this down. Hold this down. But right now, 21 HP remaining for her. Miha, 1v1. This post-plant position, she has to play time. She knows where it is. A clear shot onto the second floor, and Mia shuts her down. Is it enough time, though?
No.
It's not gonna be enough time. It's still a clutch. Global Esports, 11-11.
Global. Shut down here, of course, is kind of an eco
Enemy remaining.
coming in from GOC anyways. Kind of a half buy, if anything. Some rifles abound, a few sheriffs, but ultimately enough. Just so much more to work with their GE. And they utilize that. They still have the res up online. They have the lockdown. And they're one away from the Hunter's Fury as well. They do have it online here on the Ghost Cyrene, but
Here.
it's certainly been a much more difficult case for them to win out these rounds. Let's see if this operator changes anything now for the defense.
Initial Sova drone to get a tag onto Jaylee here. Again, an operator play. She assumes and she attacks. And that's the perfect execution or perfect kill. Angle to manipulate around. Global Esports, Muffin Loop. Again, Black and Blue. They have a rest here, and that's exactly what they do with the Hunter's Fury. Being the solution here, not quite sure if that's a good option, but it will delay, definitely.
For sure, they get that res burned. And that buys them at least maybe a bit more to bank on when it comes to this post-plant hold, or the retake rather. Here comes that lockdown. Gives them space to play in yellow, though it isn't much. They maybe swing out here, get a kill, but no, they're ready. They know that they want to aggress here, GOC. It's been something we've seen quite a prevalence on, but the counter lockdown burns even more time here for the defense. They can get that plant down. Doesn't connect.
planted.
Almost had the angle. But now they can push on forward as the lockdown expires on the post-plant hold. And the detain. 2 players detain. Now is the time to hit.
Actually, now is really definitely the time to hit, as 2 players cannot move at all. The wall comes up. Jaylee! Whoa, what a shot!
standing.
But that operator, but rolls to answer back. 3v1, KDG is the only player here in Global Esports, paving the way for a comeback, and right now they're on to a match point.
My goodness, Hi-Fei on the lurk. Exactly what you're supposed to do in that situation. Great recognition here from Global and from Hi-Fei when there is a defensive lockdown on the B site here on Icebox. One of the best ways to shut that down on your post-plant hold if you're the attacking side is send a lurk up towards mid and try and cut them off from orange. And that's exactly what she did. That's Global really finally understanding what their win conditions are and what they need to do to win this game.
Win conditions so far being met by Global Esports here. Muffin Loop yet again. Really hot on the trigger. Managed to kill one. And with the alarm bot being triggered as well, this shows Lurk. That's gonna be too early, being gunned down. And I feel like this overextension coming in from Go Cyrene. And even like really fighting it off with the players of Global Esports is really what punished them so far in this match.
There's a lot of ambitiousness for sure on this defensive side, Liza. And Global have been punishing them this entire second half. You'd expect that more on the first half when GOC were in the attack, but on this defense, they just don't seem to have the right read, and so they get forced into trying to peek as Hi-Fei gets another kill on Delbski this time around. And things are just looking so desperate right now for GOC. KDG
player
has to get
standing.
2 kills here at the very least to make something out of this. 1v4. Vale is taken on down. Oh, now she gets a
planted.
kill in retaliation, but almost went down, and that is it.
Attackers
That's the
win.
game. 1-0. Global, come back and take map number 1 away.
What a comeback we have right here, especially once Global Esports was on the attack. Muffin Loop just went crazy. It became crack, especially here in this matchup. And as time dwindles by, as rounds pass by, we can definitely see as well that for the side of Go Cyrene, there's overextensions. From time to time, they peak angles that are really not essential, really going for that aggressive peak. But sometimes it works out, like that ace coming in from Turley. But honestly, Black and Blue on the defense itself, you just need that extra manpower to make a retake happen, and that they don't have.
Yeah, they always give up the opening pick, right, even on the defensive side, and it's a big thing for that to continue to happen. We saw, as I said, lots of ambition, as we were talking about, lots of overextensions here on the defensive side, and I really do think if maybe they had a different composition that played things differently, then that could have been diverted, because you have such hot-handed players once more, and a player like Muffin, a player like Meow, who are just always at the ready to get those kills. How do you even compare? But just those are the type of games, Taylor, that are very heartbreaking for the team to lose, because you were up by such an incredible margin, by a large margin, 9-3 at the half. But we find out the curse, it comes true this time around.
I think they got too excited when it comes to really going for that match point. But anyway, that was just map number 1. We still have a few maps to go, if not the second map itself. Right now, we're just gonna head into the panel as my twin explains what happens together with Tash. Panel, take it away.
Thank you very much to our casters, Black and Blue and Tay. Now, as we come to the panel, let's talk a little bit about it, Raf, as we go through the game. Now, when we look at the second half, I think what's really interesting, the fact that it's all about pacing, where it felt like GOC felt a little bit too overzealous.
I love that word, pacing. And on the other side, GE Phoenix, their incremental adjustments have been a spectacle. Round 22 was when we saw the final exclamation point of that, I would say, download, right? When Haifei was holding down spawn and she saw that overextension and recognizing how Go Cyrene is so eager to take that forward map control, it did find them success, yes. But once GE Phoenix, as we mentioned, adjusted, it just became such a nightmare on the side of Go Cyrene to deal with.
Yeah, when you talk about map control, I think that it was very interesting, because when you think about GOC, we talk about how they're very proactive in taking up space and leaving Miha for that multi-frags over on the backside on attack. But on defense, I think one of their biggest problems has been, as what Eliza said, is that overheat, or rather those extra pushes. Yes, Twirly managed to get the ace, but in this situation, in what situation is it already an overheat?
I mean, that is a great question to ask, right? Because normally as players and as a team, you really want to accentuate the momentum and, of course, your advantage. And you want to really run it down. But that's also when we find the value of temperance. How far can we push? And Go Cyrene just could not address where they could put a stop to it, right? Once again, GE Phoenix, they did such a great job of that. We'll be looking at the stats. And Tash, I do have a question for you. Are you sure it was me who said it? Or it was Taylor? Or I could be Taylor. That could have been Raf.
Oh
Can be
man,
confusing.
I'm so confused already. You guys are like, there's two Ravs, you know? But coming
Two
into
Taylors.
this is no, it's two Taylors. But there's no two teams that are going to go over time here. Twirly and Muffin Loop on the top side here. And I believe that for Twirly's performance here as the MVP, her aggression is honestly, I have to say, due to the fact that she used to play to be playing a duelist before. But Muffin Loop's step up on the second half, we should really dive into that.
Absolutely. And just to go back on Twirly just a little bit, right? GE Phoenix has a lot of emphasis on a systematic approach, and I appreciate the composure. It really did highlight their strengths, but matchup-wise, that was what Twirly wanted. Twirly is a specialist on finding those off-tempo plays. But of course, as you mentioned, Muffin Loop caught wind of this, and of course, absolutely alerted everybody else on that team to just, guys, let's remain calm. They are now, once again, as Taylor, or was it me, who said that this is a little bit of an overheat on Go Cyrene, knowing that they had such a huge lead. Now, my question for you, Tash, is this going to affect the mentality of Go Cyrene moving into the second map, knowing that's not even their pick anymore?
It's gonna be rough, honestly, but when you think about what is going on here, is that they really need to understand that, yes, play aggressive is rewarding, but at the same time, when you are looking at these sort of plays here, is that at the first half, I felt like for GE, their biggest problem was breaking into the defense of Go Cyrene. You always see there will be one situation where you'll see Jiley playing more proactive on defense, pushing out here, but you can always see Muffin Loop on the other hand countering this, I would say, these lurks, finding Jiley in the end at the same time. But when you look at GOC, it felt like they were very scattered, in my opinion. It wasn't very, as we said before, systematic will be what GE Phoenix has. And I don't blame them because we talked about, like, how they have specialized hands, precision. That's exactly what they brought for us in this first map. But let's have a look at the MVP.
And will it come to a surprise that it is going to be Muffin Loop, an absolute destroyer? And one thing that we have to highlight too, since Muffin Loop had such a great handle on the situation, knowing where Go Cyrene would push, finding maximum value in everything she did. And once again, right, Black and Blue, and I believe Taylor, or was it me, mentioned that I feel like the Harbor pick would have benefited these teams because tempo was really the name of the game. And I feel like with a Viper Harbor combo, there is none better than that duo. And unfortunately, we didn't see it today, but we still appreciate the mastery of such a stable composition, a very generalist composition.
I think that personally GE came in today to this first match with an idea of that redemption that they wanted to bring in from day number one, given the fact that there's a lot of expectations from them, the nationalistic pride, as well as, of course, being the only Indian roster, the full Indian roster. I think the idea was they wanted to show that they are still in it to win it. Regardless, as we go into map number 2, there's still a lot to talk about here as we go into Fracture. Now, let's talk a little bit about that. Actually, no, let's talk about that later as we go for a break. Tash, Madi, and Raf, we'll see you guys for the second map of the first series. everyone, and welcome back. This is the VCT Game Changers APAC Series 2023 with Tash Bunny and Raf here on the panel. And we have just seen the first match of the first series of the day. And woo, it was close and it was spicy.
It was spicy indeed, and we've finally seen the Phoenix rise from the ashes. A true testament on how resilient they are. And once again, them finally spreading their wings, having a little bit more composure this time around. And I really love that, once again, systematic approach, right? Where they just dissect, where is it going wrong? Where are we supposed to have a proper front line? And I feel like us going into the second map is going to heavily benefit them, knowing the nature of Fracture.
Yeah, when you think about Fracture, it is a very momentum-heavy map, heavy on rotations, and for some reason, I feel like defense is stronger than attack, given the fact of how exactly the main areas are made. So let's talk about that a little bit.
I don't want to talk about it, Tash.
Why?
I'm kidding. Okay, so so Fracture, right? We've always talked about how it's incredibly, as you mentioned, it's kind of like a pendulum. It will either swing in the favor of one team heavily or go the opposite way, right? But we do agree that this is incredibly attacker-sided. Thing is, I feel like this is going to make Cyrene's problems a little more obvious because there is a lot of confidence in their individual ability, but with the way that the map is laid out and the way that you can't necessarily quickly rotate to address any holes in the
I mean, you mentioned it
defense,
was
if that
what?
were to happen.
It was what do you say?
Attacker-sided.
Not attacker-sided. It was you said set meta set.
Oh, set play heavy.
Yeah, set play heavy. Yeah.
It's super set play heavy. And once again, right, just because that there is inherent positioning in the map where you just cannot respond as quickly as you can, often making teams really go for that retake. I feel like, especially with Global Esports taking that first map, their momentum is going to be absolutely insane going on to this one. But before we did jump into the veto and the agent select earlier today, we did talk about just how mentally taxing it can be to lose on your own map pick, and hopefully Cyrene can recover.
Yeah, especially because Fracture is GE Phoenix's pick. And on top of that, the idea that you said it was very set play heavy is because that once you are trying to figure out a thing, it's basically do or die situation. Once you want to execute, you have to go in with no hesitation because of how exactly the map is made. Now, if from what I've seen here from VCT MYSG that I recently just casted, a lot of pro players are going in for that Neon instead of their usual Raze or even Jet. I mean, USUC Raze, but more so heavily toward Neon. What do you think about that?
Well, Neon, as we talked about earlier too, is that there's a lot of long rotations and not a lot of agents can reliably cross that distance between point A and B. So Neon is going to be such a huge help on that help defense. And at the same time, she's going to provide so much potential on that entry. The Raze, I feel like, is still serviceable, but maybe double duelist on Fracture might be falling out of favor just so you have a little more reliable mid-round. Because when you go for the double duelist, you tend to lean on just two speeds. Either you kind of hang back and explode or just hit it as soon as the round starts. But we've seen a lot of multifaceted approaches from all our teams, so I doubt that we're going to see a double duelist here. I could be wrong, though.
Yeah, it would be I think it's very, very situational on how exactly you want to execute onto the site. Yes, double duelist can be great, especially on attack, even on defense actually, because the idea of this map is for you to be rotating very heavily. They enter in from A main, you see an aggressive push from A main on the defender side, and a push toward the other side of main and pincer them on main. Regardless, let's have a look at the compositions here, because all we've been doing is just speculation. Now, in this situation, I think that it's a very interesting situation here. When you look at both of these compositions, it'll be it looks like they're both hovering on a Jet. No, actually, no, it's going to be Twirly on the Raze, and we just talked about Razes, and I think both teams are going to be going for that because I don't blame them, because Meow 16K's performance on Raze yesterday is actually pretty alright.
That is true, and we do see something of, I would say, a little bit of a throwback here. Chamber used to absolutely tear this map apart.
Oh, yeah.
We used to see him all the time. I do love the KO picks. Actually, I'm a little impartial on the KO picks.
Yeah, you did say it's very
on both
niche,
sides.
right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, KO is super generalist, but at the same time, you typically pick KO to deny the strength of a Sentinel and just utility in general. But I feel like my twin has a lot to say something about it, Tash.
Yeah, that's right, because we are going to go into our second map of the day, GE Phoenix versus our team here. Go Cyrene, let's see who goes home and who continues.
Well, we're back at it. Fracture, map number 2. After, really, the comeback from map number 1 on Global. I'm Black and Blue. With me is Tayror. We'll give her a proper introduction this time. And we just saw the momentum, shifted on the last map. Taylor, how do you think this one's going to go?
Man, that game number 1 really kept us to our toes. We were really expecting it was already going towards the side of Go Cyrene. But in the end, reach 13, right? So with that, we go to game, or rather map number 2, and it's gonna be Fracture. I'm quite actually excited to see what will happen here, since we all know Fracture is a map where heavy rotations or heavy fast rotations can happen.
Well, what I'm more curiously interested in is contact being made here towards Arcade is the fact that Twirly's on the duelist at time. Like, much to the role that we saw her on Bren before this roster. And we saw her perform pretty well a while ago on that Killjoy, but as we said, fight being made on here. Meow goes down as Jayla. She moves on over to the controller this time around and keeps that B tower in their control.
Lots of headhunter shots popped off, but not really connecting to anyone. Rose, on the other hand, was able to swing, get a kill, and hide back. This gives a little bit of an advantage towards Global Esports right now. It's still a 4v4, and so far it seems to be a heavy rotation yet again for Global Esports, all the way, or running all the way to A site.
Yep, they have some time to make it work. They're cutting off that sand to allow them a bit more control onto it. The stun, it comes in a bit late, but doesn't matter. They still get the kill off of it anyways. And Muffin wants to press the issue. They're all quite low. And with her being the only full HP player, I don't recommend them playing this deep.
One enemy remaining.
Oh no, one by one. Global Esports, though, they're all faltering here as the 3-man push is now ongoing, but in pistols, anything can happen. Both low on HP, and Delbsky was able to punish and puncture onto the side, going for that defuse, making things 1-0. Again, Black and Blue, like you said, they were low in HP, and this was a pistol, you know? It's just so much things can happen on a pistol.
Yeah, very unwavering sometimes, and uncomplimenting those pistols can be in those situations. And she almost could have won this out in the end too, Kiri. He gets that pick. They're all very low. Literally, a single shot to the foot would have killed anybody. But it just didn't come to pass. And as I was talking about on the attacking side there, with Muffin being the only player with a decent amount of HP in a 4v3, they really should have played that one on back. Because they don't, it gave GOC their first pistol round of this series, actually.
Oof. Finally getting those pistols yet again, very important, I would say. And I think you would highly agree too as a coach. And this really gives, maybe, if not, an easy 2-0, for example. And that kind of advantage that you can get, especially in early rounds, to set momentum, quite essential for the rest of the team, I would say.
Okay. Quick shot landed. GOC overrunning, but response from Global isn't much to be worried about just yet. They still have the firepower advantage. Pistols in the hands here of that Global squad. You can see Rose looking to want to dig and maybe delve in deep. Has the fault line, but do you really want to be the breach if you want this deep? Should be able to get a free kill. That she does. Doesn't even go to retrieve the Spectre they had in hand. And now, Go Cyrene, they're put on notice.
After Shock to just put on more delay here for the rest of the team. They know where Rose is hiding right now. Immediately shut down from Twirly again. They have guns to punish here. Twirly, she knows where to put exactly that pressure to make that diffuse possible. Kiri, though, throwing in a molly, not hitting really onto that diffuser. And it's going to be a 2-0 again. A little bit expensive, I would say, in the hands of Go Cyrene here. But in the end, still worked out. And Black and Blue, with this kind of setup, you have to be careful in the rotations, especially if you leave A completely open.
Quite expensive, actually, as you said. A decent amount of economy burnt that could have been useful on this bonus round of theirs. In GOC, we see rather Global. There are some moments there, like with Rose or maybe Meow, that they could have maybe played that a bit more compact and got away with another kill. Still, they did pretty well. This is their rifle round, going for that drop push. An interesting option to go with when they know they're on the anti-bonus.
And knowing as well they have utilities to play here anyway to suppress. They can puncture, they can really make a sandwich play happen here. And Muffin Loop yet again with a kill and now planting the spike. Little bit space for Global Esports right now as the rotations coming in from GOC is happening. Rose in a good position as of the moment, I would say, especially if there's no flash coming in to help out clear Sands, and it might be a problem once she swings out. It's going to be a crossfire.
Yeah, Twirly. A lot for her to dismantle in this hold. That turret just makes it even more difficult. Information to be given away. When she swings, she's going to play off of this contact. This is no way Twirly comes out of this unscathed, right? Yeah. Hyphae quick on the kill. Low damage, low HP rather, here on the Muffin and Hyphae, so they can be taken down. But KDG just gets out-timed and outclassed. A Sheriff in Miha's hands. The last one she's going to be able to put on up as she dies to the spike from this as well. And GOC can't take the round as Global. Pretty clean so far. Four members still up at the end.
Probably one of the post plans we actually saw that was very strong here on the series itself. And if you can see, they were able to set up those crossfires all the way from ropes, even up until Sands, up to a point where no one can actually go down onto drop, especially, again, the bonus round that we're having here coming in from GOC. Upon finishing the second round we had a while ago, it was expensive. They were really broken by it, and now into a 2-1 score, heavily investing on that operator. This is a very, very vulnerable operator play. No armor indeed.
Yeah, but this is why they pulled out that chamber, right? They want to have that operator presence be a constant threat here on the defense. Coming in from Go Cyrene. Timing works on out. They get the trade post-death. And Hyphae is quick to find another here for Global's side. Do they expect Twirly to still be playing there towards the arcade? Doesn't seem to be the case. Oh, they do. Orbital strike to flush her out. She still wins that fight against Rose. And they lose the breach, which would have been influential and instrumental in this hold. They do have an op for the retake, but we know how difficult that can be to utilize sometimes.
Orbital strike was used up there. And nevertheless, for Twirly, she didn't need to worry onto the back ends because there was literally an orbital strike. Now, tapping onto the spike, this puts a little bit more pressure onto Global Esports to make something happen with that knife. It detects players, but Kiri from behind, not even knowing that Kiri was just around the corner. 2-2. Global Esports so far. This post plans has been strong, Black and Blue.
Kiri, you gotta love it. He's keeping them in here. And off the flank, the miscommunication, it seems, or the lack of immediate information delivery from either player there on GOC's side. Just the rest were unaware of that flank coming on in. They had those nanos to flush him out of the defuse, to stop the defuse from happening. We saw the fragment off of the KO as well come in from Muffin. And then they also still, if they wanted to, had the lockdown to place underneath in the underpass. And so, very difficult retake situation there for GOC. Let's see if they can land the shot. They spot on out where Delbsky is, but she's not ready.
Good shots from Rose there. Now with also the knife coming out, no one really to suppress here as GOC heavily stacked on A. So far, no one on A side though. They know it's gonna be arcade, or some of the players may be in arcade, but not quite sure. This is going to be a 5-man push towards arcade. That orbital strike is still in play, Black and Blue. This is quite scary.
Yeah. If they can find a pick here, then that orbital can really flush out and clear out that tower to allow them on this retake to have a bit more space to work with and a bit more control of the site. But Muffin Loop, quick on the trade. If it ever did come, doesn't matter. Just clean kills all around. KDG, only one to respond, but they're going to have to dismantle this crossfire, which won't be easy. Spots out for Meow is, but ultimately enough. Going to go down as GOC concede another round in Global. Attacking side looking pretty good so far.
Damn. KDG complaining. Not too much pixels. I can't find her. I can't get the kill. Especially she knows where exactly the raise was. Fortunately, again, the pixel just isn't enough to make the shot connect. And even that, the strafing as well, Made it a little bit too difficult for KDG here to actually get the punish. But now goes Cyrene. Feel like they lost that opportunity to use up the orbital strike on that retake. But other than that, it was an eco. Maybe they're saving it up for this official or full buy that they currently have right now. And a little more aggressive play. This is a 3-man push on towards Satellite. But Meow was able to get 2. 32 HP remaining for her. She's still not yet done. She wants to put more.
Complete shutdown there, Taylor, of that aggressive play we see. And Global just at the ready, even with the information gathered here by GOC, by Go Cyrene, off of the suppress, off of that 0 point coming from KDG. Global just win out in the end. And it just seems like Go Cyrene, these aggressive plays that we saw from Icebox constantly being punished on their defensive side. It's continuing once more here with Global finding these kills, and they don't even get the shot to connect immediately here. Hyphe gets a punish off the push as well, and everything's just crumbling at the seams. But Twirly, Jaylee, they find one apiece. A double for Twirly already. Has a showstopper, can get the 1v1, doesn't connect off of it, but lands the follow-up shot. It's a 1v1. 5 rounds in the mag. She knows here towards drop. There's 1 bullet left remaining in her Vandal, and she has to connect it, but the swing's gonna come in time. Backs on off, doesn't pull it out, and Kiri gets a kill. What a sequence at the end.
A series of unfortunate events. Literally realizing she doesn't have enough bullets. She has to make this 1 shot count. After that satchel out, it's just too much. There's so many players. She managed to pull off 1 amazing shot onto Sands, but yet again, not enough bullets, Black and Blue. Almost as if she was about to take on the round. And that pressure point, or that pressure time, if you think about it, Global Esports still hasn't planted the spike.
They're really struggling here. Go Cyrene to get much going. Tour de Force giving up. They know where the information is now.
Watching here.
And the push here from Arcade could be the pincer they need to really dismantle this. They're really banking on hoping that this Tour de Force can find the value that it may. And here comes on now the null command to try and bull rush and bulldoze their way into it. Oh, that destroys the Tour de Force. She still wins the fight with the Mirror Classic. 2-2 on the kills on either way. They take the B site.
Still doable now without the suppress. Maybe a little bit more off the comfort zone of Delbisky here. But that was amazing shots happening. But KDG managed to pull off another here with a headshot. Every shot counts, Black and Blue, and so far it's been surprising how it connects. KDG now getting a Vandal as well, at least a little bit of an upgrade here towards the side of GOC. But Delbsky, very low on HP. She needs to swing out, perfect! And she gets the kill here. Tour de Force in action at this point. KDG to go down. No utility play. No showstopper yet. Miha to already tap the spike. But as they try to swing out, they know that they are on the upper hand here, Black and Blue. GES, they know how to play their cards right.
Ever reliable and ever deadly Kiri is. I still can't believe Delbsky was able to win that fight up close without even right-clicking to get the instant damage. But ultimately enough, could not land a shot here on Akiri to dismantle that tower hold. They had the orbital strike if it ever did come, even though they were null commanded on the suppress. That's why she had to play a bit closer, but maybe that's a sign for GOC, for Go Cyrene here, to start to get going. I would have liked to see an earlier timeout at this point coming in round 8, but they're opting to continue the round and continue the game with potentially a momentum swing to go back in their way.
So much utility play right now for Global Esports. Immediately starting off with the Rolling Thunder and even burning the showstopper here. I like the awareness coming in from GOC that they have so much utilities, they have so much ultimates that they play back ends.
Damage done towards Twirly. They have a lockdown here to buy them even further time in this. The kills going Global's way. Just keeping this globe spinning, the swing from Rose. She's cutting them apart. No real hold here from the Go Cyrene squad. Delbsky all alone, detained, and that is it. Global, a 6th round in a row, and not much of a fight really being put up here by Go Cyrene so far.
The thing is, they were able to use the orbital strike. They were even pulling out up to the very last minute, even the Rolling Thunder. but there's no execution to make the retake happen. There's no one really peeking to the players that try, or rather getting kills after kills. Again, Go Cyrene really having a difficult time here to have that perfect timing, playing around their utilities, which is also a little bit of a problem that they had from the games that they had yesterday too, Black and Blue.
We see those trends. We touched upon it rather, on Icebox a while ago, and as you said from yesterday, they seem to continue. They seem to still haunt this team. Twirly on the swing. The flash a bit late on that. She was a bit early on the swing as well. Counter here. KDG could find a kill, and that she does to get that trade-off. Scanned. Paint shells to deny the push, but they're rotating. They know that B site should be open as of the moment. They have High Fate to try and take control of it early. Team Flash seems a bit uncoordinated, but ultimately enough, they should have the site here and the plant.
BMB, are you really a good initiator if you don't flash your teammates?
Every now and then, yeah.
Every now and then, yeah. Muffin Loop to take on a kill here. Jaylee to go down. No more smoker, though, for GOC. And again, Spike hasn't been planted.
Spike planted.
No smokes on this post plant, or rather on this retake for them. It's gonna be a little bit more tougher. Yet again, a swing out and no trade-off. Muffin Loop to just get kills after kills. Quite easily, I would say, even. KDG, a good shot down from the players of Global Esports here. Muffin Loop still charging the lead from the players of Global Esports.
Global continuous, really, in their pursuit of continuing this streak furthermore, and much of the same strengths that we saw be a problem, constraints here for this Go Cyrene squad on Icebox, where they like to push forward on their defense, they like to extend a bit further. Those attempts are being punished time after time here by Global, and if they can't really take early control here in Fracture, they have to reliably play the retakes, but none of them so far, none of those two ideas are really working out here for Go Cyrene. So what can they do differently? Certainly a retake has to come on here on a site, because they're not ready to repel this. Right there.
First of all, they have to go in with their utilities, especially really getting value out of it. And second, obviously, you have to hit the shots. But again, it's a little bit more harder than what we're actually seeing here once you're playing it on your end. Delvisky, a lot, or rather, a good investment here on the operator, but yet again, they have to retake. And they have to find value on that op yet again. Twirly tapping the spike here alone and trying to conquer it. But she still managed to pick up on one, and that's going to be Muffin Loop. Quite an important pickoff here. 3v2 situation. Finally, maybe GOC will make a retake happen here. But yet again, they have to put pressure. Rose to just get a kill immediately like that. They don't know. It's just a continuous defuse, and it's going to be a round finally for GOC. A ninja defuse to finish things off.
Well, you can see there, Twirly sacrificing herself to a bigger cause, takes out space within a main, and because she was kind of body blocking there for Delbsky, they thought that when they got the kill, it was on the diffuser, but really no, it was someone else.
It was just a random person inside the smoke.
They thought that was it.
Oh man, well, it happens to the best of us. And one thing's for sure, like you mentioned a while ago, we're still yet to see a timeout from Go Cyrene, and I feel like it could have been a perfect opportunity way past the rounds that we actually looked at. Especially, it's almost halftime here, and the rounds are just going and going on. And Fracture is just a perfect map, and the thing is, for Global Esports, they know when to hit and they know when to rotate. And once they rotate, immediately you can actually notice on the mini-map, no one from GOC is on the site. They all leave the site and rotate fast as well.
And we can see that, you know, Go Cyrene just aren't as ready to play this Fracture map as this other squad, as Global, because it's a map they typically like to remove out in the veto. They haven't been able to even play it on record so far, and they leave it open for Global. And Global making full use of the pick here that they put in. Operator out for VOC, for Go Cyrene. And it's given away already that is alive and running here on towards B main.
Oh, and still, Muffin will peek. sir. So, anyway, that was a quick hit and run coming in from Delski. One man down for Global Esports. Phoenix's, I would say, Muffin Loop has been a lifeline from game number 1 up to game number 2. But this time around, you just can't say that it's just her making this happen. It's the entirety of the team. And Haifei from map number 1 has been performing much better, I would say.
Oh, rendezvous ready. Gotta be wary. Oh, peeks too early before the weapon is even ready and loaded to fire. You have to be a bit more careful in those situations. Jayla, lots of pressure played onto her. The take coming in here from Global's side. Here comes on now that Rolling Thunder. And Jayla should be able to get the kill here, but gets blasted out with a blast pack. Haifei, quick on that. The second follow-up coming off of it as well. Damage done. 3v2. The retake, it has to work out here for GOC. Otherwise, their economy is going to be in shambles.
They still have 2 flashes here to play around. 2 players onto the side, 1 on tower, 1 on B main, or rather on B side itself. And they actually know there's gonna be 1 on arcade as well, but Rose, with that aftershock, she was able to pull off a kill. And now it's just up to the last remaining player. It's gonna be Miha yet again, the only player that kept on being left out, or basically being the only one alive for the rest of the team to make a clutch happen. Unfortunately, I don't think there's gonna be enough time, and at the same time, you mentioned already, their economy is gonna be in shambles at this point, and knowing it's a final round later on, you just gotta give whatever you have.
Well,
It was a good initial pick. Yeah.
They definitely were, like, but then just the merits that they were able to gain early in that round just squandered, erased, because of this, I guess, a lapse there in the moment to peak a bit earlier. Then the op was ready. Now the Indian squad looking to close the series out 2-0 versus the Philippine squad. We haven't really seen much decisiveness here on the defense. We know it's an attacker side map. Rendezvous is just right there, so it doesn't really buy her back to safety. Gets a kill off of it as well. Jayla on the trade. 2v3 as the dust settles, and the flank, it has to work out.
They're a little bit in a rush here for the side of GOC. They have so much time still. No plant on the spike. Not really a retake right now, but really fighting for their life. They get a kill onto the spike holder. But at what point? At what cost? 1 man down yet again. It's still a 1v1 here. And we all know the spike has been dropped on the site. But KDG gave up space here. Might be able to hear, actually, that the drop happened. It's all up to these 2 players. Meow, KDG, take over the swing, and finally they spray down Meow to win that engagement as well. Halftime it is.
Bit of an awkward angle there for either side, because Timmy the turret was in between them, but even more awkward, I guess, for KDG to win out in the end. A nice attempt in that 2v4 on the retake, rather 2v3 on the retake, coming from that flank here from the Go Cyrene squad, but the half ends 9-3 ultimately enough, as I think our panel's got something to say about it.
9-3 curse marks our second half here. Well, not exactly curse yet. We'll have to see. Oh, regardless, as we head to our second half here, 9-3, not sure if it's going to be a curse or not here. So we have a lot to talk about between these 2 teams. While GOC looked very strong in the first half in the previous map, now in the second half, GE showing a very, very solid showing, and this is not their map pick. So there's a lot to talk about, but I want to really highlight on economy first. What do you think, Raf?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we know that how fickle this map can be, and I'm glad that you brought that up earlier too. I feel like a side effect of GE winning so many of those fights, in terms of ultimate economy too, it's been leaning so heavily towards them, so they can keep holding that. They can keep pressuring Go Cyrene into being more proactive and responding in kind. But at the same time, when Go Cyrene did use those ults, I feel like there was still quite a bit of undecisiveness, and despite their positioning on those trades on the defensive side, it never really felt like a net positive on them. And I'm glad that Black and Blue brought it up too, is that despite them getting early picks, they're not leveraging on it as much as they should. But in any case, it is the 9-3 curse that a lot of people love to go on about.
Yeah, there are situations that could happen. I think it's more of the mentality when you think about it as we go into the second half. We also were talking about economy. We were also seeing these two things happen in the previous map and this one, which is the ultimate orbs. I think that what's really interesting is the fact that for GE, they've been very proactive in trying to gain control of that ultimate orb situation. And I did see GOC try to respond, but they always get shot out. What do you think happened there?
Once again, we saw a glimpse of that on Icebox, and now on Fracture, it's been a little more refined on Global Esports with their takes. Just a lot more utility being invested in just highlighting all those orbs. But as our time to talk is running out, we will be, I believe, throwing this to my twin. And, of course, Black and Blue very soon. So, Tosh, I guess we'll be seeing them on the other side, right?
Yes, let's go.
What do you mean other side? You're here. I'm you. What do you mean? Back at it again. Here. And after that panel, Black and Blue, especially now onto the halftime, a while ago I heard, shoutouts to John by the way, that it was a 9-3 map curse. You think it will happen again?
Well, it definitely could, seemingly so. Maybe this attacker's side, as it is a bit more favored here on Fracture, could benefit out this GOC squad. They get the plant down, which is a pretty good case already to be made. But the deny, never mind. Curie at the ready. Do you love me? She's riding. Keep it on. Drake gonna keep the ball rolling. Muffin gets that kill off the flank. And they still do not have the plant down. This is looking disastrous right now, Taylor.
No one is really helping the one planting the spike. That's the problem here. That's the main issue. It's early to go down as well. They had a good opening. They had an open site to take, but despite that advantage, they weren't able to pick up on the kills here. Again, pistol round. Anything can happen. They go for the fault line. Miha, clutch master here from the side of GOC. Maybe it's still possible for her, but again, GES, they know their strengths.
Yeah. And strength in numbers. The power of friendship, as you might want to call it. Whatever it may be. Simply case in point, they had the advantage there. And after that denial from, once more, Curie has just been so reliable. Many times on over. So many rounds where you see just one important move, one important step or kill found there by Curie just gains global the advantage, and you can see that on the scoreboard as well. 13 for her, but not only have the quantity of that been high, but the quality of those kills as well.
Could have been a different story if the plant was actually pushed through, right? So
Yep.
you gotta give credit where credit's due, and that's towards Curie for that round. But again, another try for the side of GOC. They're going a really aggressive push here. They have Stingers, or rather Spectres as well. And it hands up Twirly here. Jail already getting a first initial kill. Twirly to just go in, press W, push in. This is where they're good at, when there's no hesitations at all, Black and Blue.
And nobody really wavering just yet. They run on in, run through the defense, and stop any real attempt.
Literally a press W moment, dude.
I mean, it's kind of what you gotta do, right? You got some pistols, now you pick up the Spectres, just overrun them with numbers. You zerg them out, if anything.
Good on Twirly, especially she had the Spectre, or the Spectre here anyway. She was the one who's gonna be able to actually spray down the enemies, shock them, if not overwhelm them onto the site. And that's exactly what happened. GOC finally securing their first round here, if I'm not mistaken. And this is actually, it was 9-3. So it was a 1-1 on this pistol round as we're looking at.
Well, 4 to 10, and played quite well. Finally, you know, get something done here. Meow. I don't know how she doesn't connect those shots when she's been performing really well so far in this series. It just happens every now and then, even to the best of us. But
exactly.
now GOC, they could melee that on the way through. But yeah.
They have room for errors. That's the good part about, that's a good thing about G Phoenix right now. They have 6 rounds to play out on errors if ever they have. But again, you don't want to really give it out like that. Just like what happened in game number 1. Muffin Loop with an initial pick-off here. And that's towards Twirly, one of the stronger players here, especially on the trigger. KDG, good pop flash. Unfortunately, she got flashed too, but that's okay. I'm still gonna get the kill.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Can't see. Doesn't matter. You can't breathe. Post-plant hold here from GOC. They have all the advantages that they would want in this case. Have that tower control. It's arcade that Global want to take away. But the flank, it's big.
It is definitely. They know there's someone flanking. Delby was able to get out of it. But the stun
remaining.
perfectly connecting onto her. Good execution from Rose here. And the rest of the team, especially getting the kill. And now it's all up to Meow to finish things off, defuse the spike, and take the round yet again for Global Esports Phoenix. 11-4 scoreline here, Black and Blue. And so far for GES, it looks pretty good. And at the same time, this was their map pick.
Yep. Disastrous once again. Oh, look at that. He thought it would have been in the other corner, but with a round there. Advantage
Player standing.
on the side of Global in the previous round, and the Eco able to be won out by Ghost Cyrene. The same situation has been returned in reverse. GE taking a round where Ghost Cyrene had the advantage in that, but the tower take, that is a crucial part of many of our retake here on the B site. And Global so far have been pretty successful in doing so, and that just denies so much control away from that post plant as we move into another round. Arguably, this is the decider. If GOC let this go away, this could be them going down and out of this tournament.
Yeah, it is the lower bracket in any sense if you just tuned in. But anyway, all of our brackets, just check out our channels. That is all. But now we are onto the take here as the orbital strike goes in and clears out tower. No one really to follow because of that nano swarm. High Fate to swing out. Big swing that she got right here, knowing that it was just a dry peak and knowing there were so many people. Turley now with the smoke dissipating, not expecting Kiri to be up in the corner.
This is disastrous once more. Impending doom for Ghost Cyrene. They get the plant down 4v2 though in their advantage. They have that suppressed. Perfect flash to come on in, but they can't find the kills that they want off of it. 1v3. KDG, no utility to work with. Gonna be so difficult for her to try and flush this out. They're sticking the defuse. They've gotten caught the half point. She has to get the kill somehow, but they don't. They get the defuse in her face. 4-12 match point already here for Global.
Global Esports Phoenix, you just know when they're comfortable. It just shows throughout the takes that we are looking at and towards the retake that they're doing here. They know exactly which angle to look at, and at the same time, especially GOC is a type of team that would really go for fights and engagements. They know that they need the trades. They realized that during map number 1. And now, over and over again, they try to support each other, work as a unit, and it's working better for the side of Global Esports here. Especially coming out from that momentum shift from game number 1. They're taking it here in game number 2.
Yeah, the takes here on the attacking side just haven't been clean as Gary finds a double! That could be the nail in the coffin! Mia on the trade! But they lose so much manpower in that fight, in that bout. Meow still has an advantage here. Maybe they can retrieve the rifle coming in from Ghost Cyrene. But they run towards this beast like nano swarms at the ready towards B main to even halt that push from happening. But they cross on anyways, push forward. Never mind, Killjoy dead. But retake to come on in with the advantage. Miha gets a kill, that is huge. That might have kept him in this game.
Good kill underneath, but now this showstopper will be pulled out. Good decision coming in from GOC to stand aside, stand backwards more, especially Jaylee is just right behind the corner, wrapping around the players here. And they were able to burn the showstopper. They were able to get those important kills. And this time around, they were able to really wait it out and get the kills when they really intend to.
Almost came down to it. And luckily here for Ghost Cyrene, when the margins were close, they were able to keep it tight and win out the round. But it's still a very, very desperate climb to the top just to tie up the game. They're going to need 7 more rounds in a row to tie this game on up. Orbital Strike available here for Global. And Meow gets an opening kill. A second goes their way here to Global. And they can continue their trend to make this theirs. Go Cyrene in a difficult spot here, Taylor. Incredibly difficult for them.
They still have a showstopper in the hands of Turley, though. A Rolling Thunder, even. They have to play their cards right, though, knowing Delbsky or Delby also doesn't have a rifle here. But again, still 3v5. The manpower, especially when you go play for contact on that turret. No one's gonna peek. They know the showstopper is here. One man down, yeah, sure, but you still have to kill 4. It's still a 3v4 situation. They go for a plant, though. They still have space. Hyphy very low. They still have the lockdown to play out.
Oh, big orbital strike. They have that lockdown as well, as you see being popped. No space for them to take. Turley has to win this fight. She has to win the 1v3 in this case. The defuse coming on down. Lockdown destroyed, yes, but the time is gone, and so is she. As Global Esports win very handily, 2-0, and they send Go Cyrene home.
That map number 1 was very crucial for GOC to take. It was their map pick. Now with the map pick coming in from GES, surprising and convincing. A very convincing win coming in from them against GOC. You definitely know this is a map they're comfortable with. And despite everything else, if you think about it, GES, they played as a unit in this map number 2. Not only that, but you have to give kudos to Kiri, a really good anchor, even or despite being the controller.
Yeah, she was so reliable throughout that series, right? We saw that many times on over, and it may have taken a while here for Global Esports to get into the rhythm of things, to get onto the pace that they're comfortable with, but when they finally did, it just seemed like Go Cyrene weren't ready for it. It took them almost the entire game, or the entire half at the very least, during map number 1, finally came back during the second half, and now from the get-go here in Fracture, even though the pistol rounds were won by Go Cyrene, it didn't matter in the end. The mid-game, the mid-round, the decision-making, as well as just the punishment and the catches being thrown out here by Global time and time on over were way too much for Go Cyrene to deal with. Still valiant effort, though, for them to make it here into the playoffs, but unfortunately, we're going to have to send Go Cyrene home, as this is the lower bracket.
Yeah, definitely. This is the lower bracket, and knowing that, Global Esports, after this match, basically, they have one more life to live, and it's still in the bracket, still here in Open 1. And 2 fairly new teams. One stood out. That's going to be Global Esports Phoenix, but it's definitely promising for GOC. How they started off, they just have to polish more, and especially the important factor here to consider for game changers is that other teams actually lose, and you get to learn from it. You know, you get to adjust, and I think that's exactly what they're gonna do. But I think that covers game number 1 or rather series number 1 for us. Right now, we're gonna pass it on to our panel. So my twin and Tash, where are you?
Okay. We have found Eliza Taylor here with me right now. Raf had great casting just now, but let's talk a little bit about what happened today here as we move into the second map, which is Global Esports pick. Fracture really showing what exactly made them tick, how exactly they play as a unit. But Raf, during our conversation just now, you mentioned that the first half translated well into the second half. Why don't you share with us?
Absolutely. And again, it does sound a little bit of a gross simplification of what did transpire, but we did talk about Global Esports just needing that wind up and a chance to really get themselves going, and we saw exactly that. I mean, everybody really did perform, especially Rose, right, who did not have too much of volume fragging in the more recent series, but again, the contributions have been in spades, and I believe you're going to be jumping right into the stats for this one so we can expound on it just a little bit better.
Yeah, as you come here, it's going to be Meow 16K and Twirly here on the head-to-head for the MVP. Now, personally, I think that Meow 16K has been phenomenal in terms of getting those multi-frags, as well as Kiri. That's a huge step up from her. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely, and once again, we also have to credit both sides of the team for really setting their duelists up for success. Meow 16K, though, just absolutely unstoppable. What I did find interesting is that, yes, there were both KO picks, and I feel like just the mastery of timing on Global was just a lot more obvious in comparison to Go Cyrene. We did talk about how this team is incredibly disciplined, and we saw a lot of that And as I mentioned, also an Icebox, it does give them a little bit of a wind up when they do coalesce for those retakes. But on that fairly short defensive side, on the side of Global Esports, it was just to their strengths. Once again,
Yeah.
go Cyrene, even if they did get that site-breaking pick, what happens next? Again, the clarity just not as obvious as we needed it to be for our Go Cyrene squad, but we did mention that this is still the first open. There is still a lot, and I mean a lot, of our Game Changers circuit ahead of us for this year, so it's good that they start ironing out these mistakes as early as now.
Okay, but let's have a look at the highlights here. And I think, as I said before, Kiri has been phenomenal in terms of her rotations. Her flanks have been huge when it comes to the team. They managed to catch Go Cyrene's off guard so many times. In a lot of situations here, the multi-frags from Meow 16K and Kiri has been huge too. I think that even though the Go Cyrene tried to match up with the momentum set by GE, they weren't able to catch up. Why is that?
Well, as we mentioned, right, the mental is such a strong factor here, knowing that this is the pick of Global Esports too. Go Cyrene might have just had the feeling of the effects of that. Again, we did see a very, very valiant effort there, but Meow 16K was one of their biggest, and I mean biggest obstacles. If not the setup of her teammates, it's just her ability to recognize that, oh, it's a 1vx situation. I have to isolate. Raw fundamentals of the game was really shining through. And as we mentioned, it's the basics. You know, it's really the strongest foundation for a lot of our teams.
Yeah, sometimes it felt like for GE, the idea, I mean, you did mention set play here, and I think it translated well across both maps for GE Phoenix, especially when you talk about how they play as a unit, how they rotate together, move together, as well as the setups here to enable their duelists. I felt like it was really, really seen from GE Phoenix on both the first map and the second. Now, personally, for me, I think that for Go Cyrene, their biggest problem was teamwork, as you said before, is still a very fairly new team. They're still trying to figure out their dynamics and how they work, and I think that for GE Phoenix, this might be just I would say the actual showcase of play which they weren't able to bring to the table yesterday, coming into the big stage so very early. And going against one of the best teams here can put a strain on that mental, but today they really translate and show what exactly they have in terms of precise gameplay in capable hands, again coming back to their intro video.
Absolutely, and just to highlight Go Cyrene a little bit more, I feel like one of the things that were very obvious in Fractures that sometimes the best way to go about things is just to take a step back instead of being super committal on those takes, whether they were on the defensive side or on the attacking side. It was very, very obvious, but again, I digress. This is Open 1, and they have learned quite a bit in their journey, Tosh, but man, that was quite a fill of our games today, and that's only the first series too.
Yeah, for now we have to bid goodbye for Go Cyrene as GE continue their journey. We're gonna go for a quick break, and after this, more game changers as we see the upper bracket match of the night.